Welcome to 10,000 Things. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and this is the show where we teach you the 10,000 things you need to know to write, publish, and promote a book. Here at Two Sisters Writing and Publishing, we have written and published dozens of books, including many memoirs by prominent, accomplished people, and they have big life stories with lots of information to share over a long period of time. And so, how do you organize that material? Today, we're going to talk about how to outline a nonfiction book. How to outline a nonfiction book. So, back in school, nobody really liked to do outlines, right? But that taught us such a valuable skill when it comes to outlining books. And actually, if I'm writing an email, if I'm writing a blog post, if I'm writing a social media post, I still use the same format because it enables you to grab your reader's attention and keep it. So, right now, I am going to share with you my strategy for how to outline a nonfiction book. I'm a book coach, and I just love when we come to this session because it's like super exciting. It's like you take this mountain of material and you just organize it and make it flow and perfect it, and it's really fun. So, my first thing I always say when you outline a book is begin with a bang. So lots of people, when they're writing their life story, especially, they want to say, I was born on January 3rd, 1950, blah, blah. Okay. Everybody was born on a day. Now, unless you were born on a certain day in a really unique circumstances, then we don't care. It's boring. You need to begin with a bang. So take something out of your story that's either exciting, tragic, shocking, extraordinary, something that's going to make your reader go like, and keep their attention from page 1. Now think about it. When you write flat words on a page in this era of video and music and streaming and chiming and colors and multimedia extravaganza in the palm of our hands on our phones, you are competing with a lot. It takes work to sit and read the words, okay? As opposed to sitting and watching something where all you have to do is just sit there. So you have to make your words jump up and dance off those pages. And you do that when you begin with a really exciting scene. So, whatever the scene is in your book, you begin there and then you lead it up in that first chapter with a cliffhanger at the end. So it's like, oh my gosh. So you have this wild scene and it ends with a cliffhanger where the reader just has to keep turning pages so they can find out what happened. Now, let's think of a scenario. For example, when I teach my book coaching course, I've written out an example of a woman in a house, and she sat up all night waiting for her husband to come home. He finally comes home and he says he wants a divorce. And it's early in the morning and she's sitting at the table just sobbing, and she just goes outside in her socks. It's wintertime and she collapses in a snowbank. So here's the shocker. She's home, sitting in the kitchen. The clock's ticking through the night. She's really stressed. Where is he? Not returning texts or phone calls. Then he comes in, says, I want a divorce. And she just bolts out of the house in the snow in a snowbank with nothing. And so that's shocking. And that's a cliffhanger. And so, of course, we're going to turn the page and see, did she survive? What happened? Why did she faint in the snowbank? And did anybody find her? So the next chapter, when you're outlining your nonfiction book, and this is based on a woman's memoir, that on the cover says she is a millionaire business owner. So she's going from having nothing, because in the first chapter, it's revealed that she has no assets because they're all tied up in this with this marriage. So she just leaves with nothing. And she goes from zero to boss of a multi-million-dollar business. And we know that's going to happen because it's on the cover. So, first chapter, the shocker, the cliffhanger. Chapter 2, keep the suspense going. Chapter 2 starts with her standing in the atrium of the giant office building that she owns, where her business is thriving. So now we're still keeping the reader's interest piqued because they're going to want to know, how did she go from unconscious in a snowbank with nothing to boss of a multi-million-dollar building and business? So then chapter 2 is describing her experience now. She's in the boardroom. She's got people coming in, calling her the boss, and, catering to her every instruction, and, maybe flying all over and having conference calls and doing deals. Okay. Showing her in her triumphant element. Triumphant element. Then the next chapters can show how she got there. Now, if you're reading this book because you want to be inspired by this woman's success story and learning her business tips that enabled her to go from zero to multimillionaire, you're going to keep reading because you're going to want to know, how did she do that? So that is the interest, the grab, the hook for you as the reader. So as the writer of a story like that, you need to keep planting these topics. Now, organizing your content in this type of book is really important because you want to keep it concise and in a flow that makes sense. So you'll want to extract certain themes, and essentially this is zero to multimillionaire. So you're going to have sort of this trajectory of how did she go from that to that. And so you'll want to describe in each chapter what she did. So you can segue. So the first chapter begin with a bang, the shocker, the devastation. Chapter 2, she's the boss. Chapter 3 can pick up. It can either go way back to the beginning of when she first was maybe rescued from the snowbank and what happened and how did she build her way up from that devastation to being super successful, and then just continue the story chronologically from there. But very importantly, when you're outlining a book, you are making a promise to the reader to teach them, to entertain them, to inspire them, to instruct them. And so you have to honor that promise with the content that you lay out in your outline. So very importantly, before you start writing, you write out an outline just like in school and say you're going to say 8 chapters. So with each one, you're going to write out chapter 1 is begin with a bang, and you're going to brainstorm, what is that shocker that I can put in chapter 1? And then chapter 2, do I want to use the model that I just used, like fast forward to the triumph and put it there as chapter 2? Another way you can do it, which will also keep your readers' attention, is start at the beginning of their life or their parents' and grandparents' story. A lot of times in nonfiction books, it's really important to tell it, even if briefly, the parents' and grandparents' story, because that lays the foundation for who and how this person grew up, who they are and how they grew up. So, for example, when I wrote American Success Story by Roy Roberts, his father escaped the Jim Crow experience in Arkansas at the turn of the century, around 1900. He walked across the state of Arkansas into Texas to get a job at the Rockefeller Oil Company. And so that showcases the strength and power of Roy Roberts' bloodline, his dad, and his strength and courage to create a better life and become an entrepreneur at a time when Black men at that time were not typically successful entrepreneurs. So, really powerful story that laid the foundation that tells the story for Roy Roberts to then become the highest ranking Black executive in the automotive industry in the world. So, really important to tell the family story, same as if a family came over through Ellis Island from Europe or came here another way. It shows the fortitude and the grit of the strength, the perseverance, overcoming odds, etc. So that's really important to establish. So if you begin with a bang, shocker, and then go back to the beginning of the person's life in chapter 2 or the person's family history, and then just travel up a linear trajectory of the person's life, that will also keep your reader, because they're going to be like, oh my gosh, they're here. And the begin with a bang can also be luxurious. It can be really amazing, like winning an Oscar, or going public on the New York Stock Exchange, or doing something extraordinary. Okay, doing something really extraordinary. And then chapter 2 is like, look where they started, look where their family started. So that's really fascinating to show that contrast from extraordinary accomplishment against the odds, and then showcase the details of the absolute dire circumstances from whence they came. So that will keep your reader engaged and in awe of their ability to succeed despite those circumstances. And so that is how you can outline your book in a couple ways. Now, another thing is really important to select themes, because you can't fit everything in your book. So select themes that showcase your message. So, for example, in my memoir, God's Answer is No, KNOW, Lessons from a Spiritual Life, I selected a few themes. One of them was race and identity, and I told the whole story and trajectory of my own experience with race and identity. Another one was food and fat. So I shared how that was another thread in the tapestry of my life. So I wove that through the book. And another one was my parents' story, a very unique story. My father was a Roman Catholic priest. He left the church in the mid 60s, married our mother, who's Black and Italian, and scandal with the church, scandal with race, all kinds of stuff happening. And so it showed their renegade, courageous, colorblind love story and perseverance and determination to raise me and my sister Catherine with this really extraordinary scope of human harmony and love. So that theme permeates my story as well, but it was a deliberate conscious choice to use these themes to serve as the framework of my story. Another way to organize your book is I didn't actually use chapters. I used 3 sections. So my book has 3 sections. It's like the first part of my life, and then this next part is like the spiritual awakening, and then the third part is an instructional teaching section. So I didn't actually use chapters. I used scenes within sections. So you can decide accordingly. It's your book. Obviously, if you're submitting to a publisher that has strict guidelines in your genre, you need to follow those. But if you're self-publishing, or if you're using a hybrid publisher like we are, you might have some more flexibility to just do it your way. And so, very importantly, also, as you're outlining your book, you might want to decide if you're going to have work book type, a workbook type area in the book where you have questions and lines for writing. So in clear Living the Life You Didn't Dream of by Dr. Herman Williams. He did his life story. He dropped dead when he was 31. He lived to tell about it and write a book about it. And he created something called the kindness scale. So he put that kindness scale information at the third section of the book. So it's like a workbook. So when he's a speaker, and he's spoken at Harvard, he's spoken in California, he's spoken at all kinds of organizations and universities. He uses that as a teaching section so people can not only learn his incredibly inspiring story, but also apply his kindness scale concept to live a more fulfilling and influential life, influential in helping people. So it's up to you, and that's the beauty of a book. It's yours. You can do it your way. However, you must outline your content in a way that is very easy to follow for your reader, coherent, flows, concise, trim the fat, less is more, perform literary liposuction at the end after you've written it. That's my word for when you just go in and suction out all the flab, all those extra repetitive words and all that extra stuff. So it's really fun. I hope this has helped you, because this is my tried and true method for writing great books that keep people engaged. I hear that all the time. They stayed engaged. They loved the pacing and the formatting, and writing an outline at the very beginning is the best way for you to make certain that your reader stays on track, literally reading from beginning to end. So, if you would like help with writing your book, I am a book coach, and I would be delighted to help you. I have a 6-month book coaching program that's a group, and we are about to have session number 4 this month, and the next session will be starting in July. So stay tuned at twosisterswriting.com to learn more about the next session of my book coaching group. But if you'd like an individual session, I will put the link down here in the description box, and you can sign up and have a whole hour of instruction with me. And I bring all my excitement, enthusiasm, experience, and expertise to help you write your book. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins with Two Sisters Writing and Publishing, and here on 10,000 Things, we teach you the 10,000 things you need to know to write, publish, and promote your book. If you have any questions, or if you'd like me to address a certain topic, every Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time here on the Two Sisters Writing and Publishing YouTube channel, I would be delighted. So please do drop me a comment. Meanwhile, happy writing. If you could also please follow us on Twitter at the number 2 Sisters Writing. You can also follow me at Elizabeth Atkins, and visit our website, twosisterswriting.com. We have all kinds of contests and books for sale and upcoming books, and really fascinating information about all the books that we've published. And we've published 28 books in 5 years. So I wish you the absolute best. Thank you for watching. Please share this with anybody you know who's struggling to outline their book. And keep me posted on whatever project you're working on. Please do like the video, share, subscribe to our channel, please. It would really help us a lot if you would please subscribe to the channel. And remember, check us out every Monday evening at 8 o'clock right here, and I'll share you some more tips that you need to know to write, publish, and promote your book. I wish you the best, and happy writing.